We are setting up the Venture Outfitter weekly programs that we did for about 3 years, and actually we've been doing some behind the scenes support for activities that are going to go forward. We will have a continuing series of webinars in the coming future that we're going to especially focus on activities that will be useful for entrepreneurs in the Americas and also in Europe and Africa. The truth be told, they'll be available for entrepreneurs worldwide. It's just the timing, I think, is going to be easiest for Europeans, Africans, and people in the Americas, across the Americans. So I look forward to being a part of the process and stuff like that. Hey, so part of what we're going to talk about today is the Venture Outfitter Weekly is a South by Southwest orientation. And I'm a little philosophical about this whole process in that I say this these days, return home with business, not just hangovers. There's going to be two fundamental parts of what we're going to talk through, but the main thing about this is a lot of what we can do during this process is find out from you what you'd really like to know and how you'd like to dig in. So take advantage of that time together. For me, I've been going to South by Southwest for many years. This is a picture of one of the panels that I led in 2012 with one of my colleagues from Santiago de Chile, Leonardo Maldonado. You see him off to the left. And the whole idea about this is South by for me has been a process that I've been going to for forever. I mean, the program itself is the overall South by Southwest program, I think, goes all the way back to 1989. It started as a musical festival and then ended up turning into an interactive festival. And now it's gotten so large that the technology portions are larger than the film and the music. And it's an interesting experience because you can make a lot of things happen in a very short period of time if you take advantage of that. But there are some secrets to the whole process that I want to make sure we discuss. So first off, I'd like to find out just via chat, what are a few things that you guys are looking to get out of South by Southwest? If you could just type into chat what you'd like to see. And for anyone that might be watching on one of the streaming, I'll be looking off to the left. When I do that, what I'm looking at is some of the streaming sites to find out what's there. Or if you see this as a recording later on and you post back to us as comments on what you're looking for, we'll be following up. My team will be following up and making sure that we're following up with each one of you. Anyone in particular from the studio audience want to make sure that they say, hey, this is what I'd like to make sure I get out of South by Southwest? Bruce says, music tech folks to network with. Any others, you guys are a little bit shy this morning. I know I needed a little bit more coffee myself. Connections, Gladys says connections, insight, oddball discoveries. In fact, oddball discoveries, a lot of times there's some interesting stuff that I find that's most interesting about the unplanned discovery that I think in some ways is more powerful than anything else. Do I have anything else from like RD, or like, even though maybe some of you are coming into town, maybe some of you are already here and not going to get an actual ticket, but you're going to take advantage of some of the off South by Southwest programs. I'm wondering any other requests or things like that that gives me kind of an idea of what would be most important to you. I think we have a shy studio audience today, but that's okay. I know we haven't been in contact in a long time. It's now been almost, 5 months since we did a VO Weekly, and we'll start doing much more about that very soon. All right, well, I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop right in and I'm going to go over a bunch of different ideas. And as we talk through this, the thing that I'd like to, there's two major ideas that we'll go over, and I'll make sure I point those out for getting the most out of your investment of time at South by Southwest. The first thing I'd like to talk about is what I call the South by Southwest Survival Guide. We'll go over a couple of different things through this whole idea of the survival guide. And why do we actually talk about a survival guide? The number of times over the years that I have gone through South by and then had something happen where I've ended up getting seriously sick at the end of South by because I didn't take care of myself is actually an interesting amount of time. It's something to be concerned about. Back when I started going to South by years and years and years ago, more than 12 years ago, South by Southwest, the interactive portion was just, there wasn't an interactive portion. There was a bunch of, guys like me that would create our own birds of a feather meetups. And those birds of a feather meetups would be, hey, we're going to be there in Austin for the music, to have fun. But why don't we get this group of technology entrepreneurs together? And then eventually interactive emerged out of that. And it's interesting to see because now I think the numbers of people that come into town during this 1 week of period of time is more than 100,000. The last numbers that I saw about South by Southwest Interactive alone is that 50,000 people are showing up. And we go from not a so Austin's not the sleepy town that I started going to this festival in the past, but it can be quite oppressive. And when I say oppressive, it's just because there are so many activities that you can do that if you don't step back, you will end up returning home, whether it's hungover from alcohol or just from overwhelm. It won't end up impacting your business in a positive way. And so I started talking about this more. I know that I'm one of the contrarians a little bit because I say, hey, return home with business versus hangovers, because a lot of times I think it's so easy, especially if it's your first time coming to South by. If it's your first time, the amount of overwhelm that can happen is on the same order of magnitude that I've experienced when I went to Burning Man. And Burning Man is a whole different type of animal, right? It's not the same thing, but the main thing is making sure that you really take a point and actually slow down a little bit and take advantage of it. Let's talk about some specific ideas. The first one is beating South by Southwest FOMO, fear of missing out. One of the easiest things to do is to make sure you prioritize the official South by Southwest schedule to plan in advance. And it's essential to build in breaks. One of the things that you're going to notice during this time too is the amount of every person seems to have ADHD is going to be high. And so the thing about it is this final thing that I'm actually focusing on, especially this go around, is the value of focus. Figuring out what's the quality versus the quantity of activities that you want to be able to do. In my case, the thing that I'm specifically doing is there's a handful of topics that I'm personally interested in and professionally interested in. Obviously, with TechCrunch's background on focusing on working with entrepreneurs that do impact, that are driving impact, there's a handful of energy activities that we'll be working on. Energy as in energy storage, electromobility type of activities and things like that. And so I have a couple of different high level targets there. And then I have my personal interest. And I kind of suggest that the same thing is good for you as well, to have the one or two important areas that will professionally play out. And then secondly, have something that is, that is of personal enrichment. Now, for me, the thing that I am finding pretty fascinating, and there is a track on in the mental health space, there's a whole track on what's happening with new technologies and therapies for mental health. Now, that's my personal interest, right? I'm not a professional in that field, but part of what I'm doing is focusing on those areas. And then have a little bit of time that you do the total random activity. And so the idea is maybe you have three things that you're focusing on: professional, personal, hobby type of interest, and then random. Random is, as an example, one of the things that Steve Jobs has told us about is that he took writing classes, and it's because he did that there's a font system that was on the Macintosh that then enriches our computer interfaces today. Same kind of thing here. For me, I typically will find a couple different areas that I'll just hop into that wouldn't be on my normal plan, but I do that instead of just trying to stack everything to be professional. And what's interesting about that is I found that it ends up being more valuable. The second thing is networking beyond the handshake. Now, this is something that's true for Austin. Austinites historically are very relational, much more relational. Austin does become very transactional with this influx of people. And what I mean by that is you'll never meet a group of people as a city in the United States that's more relational than Austin. People really do care about each other here. And it's one of the things that took this town from kind of a sleepy university and government town to a startup powerhouse in a very short period of time. I find that a lot of people that are not used to this, from Americans especially, since we work with so many international entrepreneurs, is that they'll come to realize that people actually take a little bit more time. Now it gets attenuated during South by because there's so much activity. You will be at activities and there'll be distraction galore. But make sure that you're actually taking that time. And one of the simplest ways is offering value first. The thing that I think South by Southwest has become known for in South by Southwest, right? There's like, it implies there's a South Road meets a Southwest Road. And at that intersection, something interesting happens. And it's not just transactions. A lot of other conferences I've been to at other parts of the world, you'll find people that are just so focused on, okay, who are you? And if you're not like the top level VC, then they immediately discount you. One of the things that's great about Austin, my fiance has his funny game that she likes to play. Like she calls it millionaire or homeless. The whole idea about it is there's this notion that in Austin, a lot of times you won't be able to size up the person in front of you because they're in a t-shirt and blue jeans. You won't know. I mean, she jokes that is the person a homeless person because they look a little bit disheveled, or are they a millionaire that's actually a tech executive that actually has had a successful exit? The funny thing about it is I have seen person and person again come to Austin, discount someone that I know is a successful entrepreneur who's worth, 8 figures, and not realize that just because they present in a very simple way, that they're actually a person of note. And then a lot of times, because there's much more social bonding among different, there's not as much stratification in Austin as you'll see in other parts of the world. You'll see people that, even though that individual might not be the top level person that you're looking for, they actually will probably have access. So offer value first. I'm just saying, get to know someone. Now, prepare your elevator pitch. I'm really aggressive about this. Is you should be able to have an elevator pitch, and we have a program that you can look at in our community site. I'll make sure you have access to the community site at the end of this process for free. There's a way of doing an elevator pitch where you get the whole pitch out in 30 words. If you've not done that before, in the environment you're about to step into, you really need to have a very tight elevator pitch. And I suggest that at the end of the pitch, you actually ask a question. You say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Hey, would you like to hear more? Or some kind of a question to follow up with. And the main thing about it is to make sure that you are prepared to finding out what's really on the other side. And so that's this third point about nurturing your leads. Take notes, set up post-event follow-ups. What do we mean by that is making sure that you actually have a real connection with the person. You'll be better off at the end of South by Southwest, as transactional as it is, with a handful of solid relationships than just a long list of people that you might or might not follow up with. There will be lots of marketing campaigns, especially from the big brands like Apple and Samsung and those kind of organizations. They're going to just totally spam their list. Thanks for coming by our booth. Boom, 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 boom. So if you're a startup entrepreneur and you try to use those same tactics, you're going to fail. A handful of relationships will take you much farther than just, a long list of people, like a long stack of business cards. I've done it year after year after year, and sometimes I'll come back with a really high stack of cards. And the problem is that then there's no real meaningful follow-up, or you can send that follow-up email, but there's no traction that will actually lead to business success. And this will be for your B2B business. It'll be for your B2C business. It's true across the board. Then the next thing is the art of self-care, prioritizing you. I find that the number one thing, now I now live downtown, but in downtown Austin, just a few blocks away from South by, but in the past, especially when I lived in North Austin. I was even having this difficulty. Like if you're at a hotel and you're going to be, kind of far away, one of the most important things to do is I would suggest finding a base camp, a place that you can have as your touchstone, not right in the middle of the craziness. Like it could be a coffee shop, it could be something like that. It might even be as far away as Barton Springs Road, which is a long walking distance. It's a short biking distance, but have some place that you can go to that you can come back from, because every once in a while you're going to need to have a place to just unplug. The intensity of the music, the intensity of the programs, the intensity of all the people walking all around through the streets, like, crossing streets that you really shouldn't be crossing at the time, it'll be oppressive. And so the idea is to have some place. And so you're not going to be able to attend everything. Make sure you're getting sleep, hydration. Be careful about the level of alcohol. You'll be offered more free drinks than you ever possibly considered before. And because of that, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of taking some time out. There are several different places along the way. Some of the vendors, some of the brands will actually make sure that you also have little places to duck out to. For me, I would suggest that one of the simplest things is you might even, if a lot of the activities are happening at 12th, at 6th and Brazos, you might find a place that, is just 4 or 5 blocks away that you end up having be your home base, unless you have a hotel room that's downtown. It will make a big difference in your mental health. And, it's like the place that you can plug in, recharge your phone, recharge yourself, and hydrate. It'll be a big difference. Mindfulness can go a really long way. And it was years until I really learned this, because in my earlier stages of going to South by, I'd have one night that was just a total blowout. I'd drink too much, I'd get out of control, have too much fun, you know, build some relationships, but they ended up destroying me for anything else I might actually be able to get done business wise. There is a place to have fun like that, but I want to make sure that for those of you all that are serious about the business, don't just be a tourist. Take advantage of the business opportunity in front of you. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to take care of yourself. So optimizing your investment, this is the other part, right? I said there's 2 different parts. One of them is take care of yourself and don't worry about the FOMO. But the other part is how do you actually, maximize your South by Southwest ROI? You see the simple things like clear objectives. I mentioned the 3 different areas that I'd actually work on. But the thing that I want you to think about right now, before you actually get into the street or go to the convention center, is what does success look like for you? It's going to be easy to get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of activity. So just define a few things. And if you just set your goal to be a certain level without trying to go crazy about it, you have a much better chance of actually hitting above that than you would otherwise. Part of the thing, though, we'll do is I'd like to actually take a bunch of questions. And since we have a number of different people here one of the things that we're going to be able to do is, especially if you're here in the studio audience, I'm going to have my assistant in just a second type in our mobile number and our WhatsApp number for those of you that are actually touching base. And, if you get like stuck or something like that, we're going to be taking some interactions. We'd like for people that are registered in our community, part of what we'll do, and you don't have to, if you're in our community, you won't have to actually pay anything to be a part of the community. But part of what we'd like to do is make sure that you have an access point to ask a question or two. The most important part will actually be the channel inside of the community. And the community is community.techranch.com. You can sign up for it at techranch.com/connect. And part of the idea here is there will be a channel for just handling South by Southwest. Now, if you're in one of our paid programs, and our simplest paid program is at $49 a month, one of the things that we'll take advantage of, and you can sign up for that, is we'll actually answer your questions. I have a team that will be responding back to WhatsApp and text messages I'm going to be in the field, so I won't see all of your messages myself, but if there's ones that only I can answer, those will be escalating into us. So anyone can get into the channel on the Circle community that we have and ask back and forth. And that's going to be really powerful. We'll make sure that that's available to you. But if you're in that other thing, you can actually take advantage of the WhatsApp channel and do that directly as well. So the idea about the South by Southwest action plan is what are the takeaways you're looking for, and then some of TechBranch events. What I'm going to make sure I do is I'm going to ask that Emma post into the community, the link to our Google events. We have a set of events that we just put together, a Google Doc, and I will go over it right now myself as well. Emma, if you could actually post that in there, that'd be great. And what we'll do is we'll go back and be able to take some questions back and forth. Let's see. Let me actually ask real quick before, it looks like she hasn't posted that just yet. Any questions that anyone in the studio audience, if you'd like to, since we have a small group, we could actually have you come on live if there are questions that you'd like to ask verbally versus typing them in. Marcus, Bruce, Emma, Gladys, Grant.
Hey there, I can hit you with a couple. Kevin, I met you a number of years ago, probably in 2012 thereabouts. I was at Capital Factory at the time. But yeah, music tech stuff, things that are off the South by radar, non-official things. Are there any that you'd suggest that I should attend for, like, for music tech specifically?
There is a whole music tech group. The guys that would be usually the media tech guys are have more of a handful of activities. I have not seen them post about this, and so if you'll post into the channel on the community, what I can do is I can actually invite it. I can make sure that we have a number of other music tech guys. The truth is that in recent years, I haven't gotten to play in that space at all, just because of it's just not been as we've really had to focus on more of our core business. I haven't been able to do that as much. So I don't have a good answer. I'm wondering if someone else in the audience might as well, just because I know that we have a number of different people that are here that have backgrounds across the different areas. Anyone like to say? Looks like I'm not getting a responders. Bruce, do this. If what you do is when you get onto the community site, if you actually do that, we'll post in the I think I mentioned the South by Southwest channel. Use the general channel because it's got a number of people in it, and we'll kind of go ahead and take over that channel for South by Southwest. And that would be a great place to post that back and forth. And I think there's several hundred people in that channel, so you can actually take advantage of it. And again, techcranch.com/connect. If you're not already in the community, but go to the general channel and I would post that. And I'm sorry that I just don't know. In years past, back in the time frame that you and I are talking about that we met, I actually had a bunch of different areas. The only companies that we've stayed in contact with directly are music being used as therapeutical methodologies. There's one company that out of one startup, well, it's no longer a startup, but as a startup out of Austria that's doing some really interesting stuff, is another music therapy company that's based out of Austin that right now just opened up their European operations. Those are the only two areas that I know that we've that we're still, that TechCranch still has a hand in, and it's because of the dual purpose of, music as not only entertainment, but also music as therapy.
Thanks, Kevin.
Bruce, what type of activities are you going to be doing during that? What are the other things that you're actually looking at?
Seriously, it's just networking. I've been kind of out of the scene for a number of years, and I've kind of reapproached it. And it's just finding opportunities to amplify what we're doing and how we're growing. Got an MVP out in the wild right now, and I've been doing the C10 pitches and all that stuff, and just networking, just finding the right conversation.
Got it. Tell us about your startup. Just if you care to, just give us like 15, 20 seconds about what you guys are doing.
Sure, yeah, it's about software. It think Facebook for musicians that for collaborating. So I've got a platform where you can record and collaborate with anybody in the world. We've got intellectual property that enables the synchronization of stuff behind the scenes, so it's latency's taken care of. So I've got we've increased our base of users by about 300% over the last 2 months. So I'm starting to get to that point where I need additional funding to get things going. So
Beautiful. Good luck with that, and let
thank
us
you.
know how it goes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of the things that are in that document that Emma shared. This is available as a Google document that any of you can actually have access to. She put it in the chat, and we'll make sure that it's in the show notes as well. Last night, sorry to mention it, since this has already happened, the Austin Technology Council had their Gateway event. This is typically more of very, very focused on Austinites, but that really great event last night. Right now, we're going over the South by Southwest Orientation webinar, Return Home with Business, not just hangovers. And the main thing about this is I can't say this enough about specific activities, just making sure that you take care of yourself. It might seem really, really simplistic, but you won't believe me about how important that is. And so I kind of harp on that. There's 10,000 things I could tell you about South by, but the number one thing I'm wanting to say about this is make sure that you have a couple of different key things, and that's about it. International welcome breakfast. Many times this gets quote unquote sold out. There's no charge for it, but I have noticed in the past, if you didn't get to already sign up for this. And by the way, all these links where it says more information here, these are going to the techranch.com/events calendar, or you can just go to techranch.com and you'll see links there. We have a little bit of information on this overview. But the great thing about the International Welcome Breakfast, for those of y'all that know how much activity TechRanch has been doing over the last 20 years with international entrepreneurs, in my case, traveling to 28 countries in the last 7 years, working with entrepreneurs in each one of those countries. The nice thing about this is the Mary Kirk Watson and Hugh Forrest and the South by Southwest organization now recognizes this. In fact, 30% of the visitors to South by are international, which it used to be zero. Well, not zero, but it used to be next to nothing. I think like in 2015, 2016, myself and Fred Schmidt, who was at Capital Factory at the time, really started focusing on how could we actually, build a bigger gateway to other countries. And so it's now formal. And this is one of the great things about plugging in. Austin sister cities as well. You do not have to be in a sister city to actually come to this event. There is a registration process, but the truth is that a lot of times people, because there's not a charge, you probably could sneak in. And I say that knowing very well that if you're not able to sign up for it, but you are able to show up and you're willing to just wait just a little bit at the very, very beginning of the event, there will be some good networking that can happen there. March 9th, we're happy to work in conjunction with several, because of the long history that TechRanch has in working with entrepreneurs from Mexico. Literally more than 500 over the last few years. We're part of Casa Tex-Mex. This is an open event. You do not require a badge to come. And so this will go from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. The majority of the program is during the day, and there's going to be a number of different successful companies that are there. You might ask, if you're international, why would you care about this event? The main thing about it is a lot of times when there is a company, say, from one part of the world that wants to be involved in taking advantage of Texas, one of the secrets of why Texas is exploding in business opportunity is Mexico. And Texas and Mexico have been long-term trading partners, number one trading partners. Mexico has just displaced in the last few weeks China as the number one trading partner with the United States. And because of that, if you have a Texas strategy, and especially if you're doing any manufacturing at all, or if you need software development support or other possible nearshore activities, Mexico is a very powerful partner in that. On March 10th, we'll be joining the European American Chamber of Commerce in their European Innovations in MedTech, driving change and saving lives. And I'm excited to be doing this in partnership with the European American Chamber of Commerce. They've got some really cool MedTech companies. There are two different MedTech companies, as an example, from Hungary that we've been working with. One of them is going to be presenting this day. And so the activities are there. There will be a number of different interesting stuff to share and take advantage of. Later in the day on March 10th, there will be activities. If you have a technology that has a dual use, what does that mean? Dual use means it might be able to be used by the military as well as by, commercial entrepreneurs, commercial business. We have a partnership with Reese Technologies that are hosting this defense innovation. And the thing about it is all these defense innovation groups understand that us in the commercial world, we move so much faster than they do in the defense world. In fact, part of the difficulty the defense world has, it's bureaucratic, it's overgrown, and a lot of times technologies that you and I might come up with in the commercial world have applicability there. Now, Tech Ranch focuses squarely on life-saving technologies. Life-saving technologies or something that, are activities that support, peacekeeping, peacemaking, not war fighting. Nothing against taking away from the war fighters of the world, but we really try to focus in on the activities that in dual use that have that purpose, because as an example, we have strong connections with some of the world's top experts in population health. And because of that, military can take advantage of some of those tools, but also, our partners over at the Pandemic Tech Accelerator as well, historically, have been a really great place to plug into as well. We'll be partnering with the Asian Chamber on the 12th. And so there's a whole litany of activities happening during that day. I'm going to be speaking at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon on that day, on the 12th. That's Tuesday. And then March 13th, my South by Southwest panel, which is Venture Bridges, Safe Passage into International Innovation. We're going to have a government of Japan, the government of Rhineland Falls from Germany will be represented, and the Secretary of Economy of the state of Chihuahua will be on this panel. Why is this important? This whole idea about building bridges around the world. If you really want to drive world innovation, if you really want to drive it, you have to have not just a US based view. It's like we can leverage brains from around the world. There are more brains outside of the United States than just inside of the United States. But when we tie them together, insight from all around the world. I say it this way: let's solve local problems with global insight. And part of what we're going to be doing is specifically these type of talking about some of the success cases in each one of these countries that we worked with. With Germany, we'll be talking about like a waste to hydrogen platform that is, really creating let's take the trash of the world and repurpose it into something useful. In Japan, we've got a couple of different ways of taking on the best way to solve some of the issues in the printed circuit world business, so that the semiconductor and printed circuit board business don't waste so much water and create so much environmental waste. So some really interesting stuff, and then some special things about the state of Chihuahua will be happening during that time as well. And then finally, I just found out earlier today, but I'm going to mention it anyway. I just found out this March 16th activity has been canceled. I'm really bummed about that, because the European Commissioner on Energy was going to be here in Austin. And I don't know what happened that changed her plan about this, but this whole idea about clean tech and energy security as we deal with climate change, this big shift, this is a very important shift. And the Tech Ranch is working extra hard to actually build connections around the world around this. We have entrepreneurs that are doing everything from solar to wind, to hydrogen, to all sorts of different other types of energy storage technologies. Very important. So although the March 16th activity has just been canceled, I just found out about this earlier today, working with our partnership with the European American Chamber, we'll make sure in the coming weeks that we have something to plug back in. And I mention this just because what we'll do is we're going to keep this on the list. We'll mark through it and say that it's canceled for right now, but I want you to be aware that this is an important part. One of the things that, we'll come back to this. I know that there's some questions that are happening back and forth in the chat. And so let me go ahead and bring these up so I can look at them. Let's see. Okay, interested in manufacturing. RD is saying, if you're interested in manufacturing, take advantage of his connections. He posted his LinkedIn there. Listening while driving. Ev Romano says, listening while driving. That said, I'm new to TX and TechRanch. Wouldn't mind from insight into TechRanch if time permits. We got a few more minutes, and I'll go ahead and answer that question. And then if there's other questions, go ahead and keep on posting them into the chat. I'm the founder of TechRanch. TechRanch was started, or actually the first organization before it was called TechRanch was started 20 years ago, actually in 2003. And I started Austin's first privately funded incubator. I started Austin's first co-working space. The whole idea about what this organization exists is started out as a venture accelerator or an incubator, but we're really focusing aggressively on this whole idea about being this network that allows people to plug in, because I believe it's possible that by creating a network of entrepreneurs that are focused on impact innovation, technology that solves human need, that we can work with each other to help these ventures that really matter in the world get to access. Part of the difficulty with anyone that does anything that might be considered social impact, and sometimes I don't use the word social impact because there's such a fear in the United States of the word socialism. And I'm not saying that social impact is socialism. I'm saying any entrepreneur that's building a platform to take care of others, like where there's a human concern. Now, we all have the human concern of water, and water technology for water, right? And food technology for, clean food, or agricultural technology to take care of our farmers, because that's how we eat. Or, it could be AI applied to healthcare. We've got a number of companies. We got 3 different companies that we're working with that are touching AI related to healthcare. But a lot of these industries, like healthcare is a good example. Healthcare in the United States especially is extremely resistant to change. It's part of the problem that, I went to the doctor yesterday and I'm like, this is abysmal. They're using software that's on the order of what we were building for clients, or I was building for clients in my innovation business, that would have been appropriate in the 90s. And there's still, the doctor's office is still running on stuff like that. And there's some excuse about why that is. Well, those industries that are resistant to change and are making lots of money being resistant to change, we have to figure out how is it that we can support the ventures that are going to change those things in a way that, let's partner with the governments and the other ventures and the corporations that want to see a shift. Existing incumbents a lot of times are kind of stuck, and they're stuck because they're making so much money. How do we actually shift that? I can give you examples in each one of the that I just mentioned, energy or healthcare or even agriculture, things like that. And a lot of times those earlier stage ventures don't have the advocates for them to be able to gain access. And so part of the idea is by building a network that's connected around the world and connected with the people that are focused on this, we can build more momentum together, and we can help the entrepreneurs that are leading the charge. They're the heroes of the story. How can we get them more access? We have a number of programs. You can come learn about our programs at another time. Today's is not about that. Simplest way of getting involved, though, is to go to techranch.com/connect, get involved in our community. And then if you're interested, like right now, we're about to launch a program. The program that we have for $49 a month, I'll tell you, if you get in now, you're going to have access. We're about to raise the price to $100 a month. If you get in now, you'll be grandfathered into having access to our core programming about how do you do messaging and things like that. But the key thing about what's really valuable about it is we believe that relationships help drive opportunity. And so at that level, we're going to help you build one relationship per month as part of the whole process. And so I'm convinced that, one of the things that I learned with all the activity that I built companies in Latin America, I lived in Mexico and I lived in Chile, was the focus of the relationship is what really drives change. Opportunity emerges out of relationship. If the relationship's not there, the likeliness of an opportunity emerging is not high. I mean, it's possible, but it's not high. It takes a lot more money. It takes a lot more financial capital if you don't have the social capital of a relationship. And so that's what we'll be doing. If you get involved in that program right now, you'll be grandfathered in for the lifetime of the program to be able to take advantage to that. And, we figured out some ways that at low cost, we can help you build relationships back and forth. We do have some much higher end. We have some much higher end programs that is, that are very, very hands on that will help you um, uh, build relationships and get you into businesses that you probably couldn't get into yourself. If you're interested in that, that's our Pioneer program. That's a much more expensive program, and so I'm not trying to mention that too much. But if you want to ask us about it, we'll tell you more. Okay, let's see. Rachel just asked the question. I struggle with knowing which events would be good and worth my time. There's so many to choose from. I'm an ex-blogger influencer that now has a marketing consulting company where I provide services for SEO, social media, and content creation, including freelance writing, specializing in travel writing. My niche is the travel industry, but want to meet and talk with anyone about all things marketing and content creation. Any suggestions, events I should attend? I'll tell you the one thing that comes to mind, given your background. Um, I'd like you to make sure that, like in this idea of relationships, that might be helpful. I'd like you to meet with Diego De Stefano from Triploop, if you don't already know him, Rachel. I don't know if you know him, but he's one of our long-term technology entrepreneurs. He's originally from a state called Coahuila. He lives here in Austin now. You can read about him at Triploop. My favorite thing would be for you to go do a shout out in the general area on the Circle website. Do a shout out and then say, hey, hey Diego, Kevin says that we should talk about travel. And what you do is, just go to that channel, put travel in the title, tag Diego, which is, Diego De Stefano. He'll be in there. And get a conversation started about travel. And that's one of the ways of taking advantage of this whole relationship structure that I'm referring to. Um, Other activities, I would actually, I find that the most important thing to do, especially if you don't have a large team, is to find a group of piranha to hang out with. That is to share insight back and forth. So like I can imagine Diego will know other travel entrepreneurs just because that's his business, that's your business. You guys find two or three other people and you dice and slice it that way and you have like a little powwow beforehand. You do it virtual, even if all it is a WhatsApp group where you never even talk live. You just actually say, hey, this is what I'm looking at. That little group can be extremely powerful. Think about it this way. Back when I was in engineering school, the students that did the best were not the individual lone wolf people. And they're what the ones that are in the massive groups. They're in these little groups of like 4 and 5 people around a specific topic area, and they'd work together, they'd study together. I learned that the hard way because I ended up having to take Dr. Bostock's engineering mechanics class, magnetism class, 2 times. The first time I didn't do so well, so I had to take it over, and I got an A by the way, the second time. Key thing was I didn't learn the concept any better than I did the first time, but I had a practice group that was like 4 or 5 people. That really made a big difference. In this case, that will make a massively big difference as well. And one of the things that you can do is you can find people like that as well there. I also know that Gladys is here she's one of the people that runs the European American Chamber of Commerce. I'm just going to say shout out to her, shout out to you. in that she could be valuable as well, just based on her background in the work that she did beforehand. So take advantage of that too. Trying to think if there's any other questions. We're coming to the end of the time that we have scheduled today, and I appreciate the interaction and things like that that you guys have been promoting back and forth. We will have more of these type of activities too. Let me just check a couple other areas to make sure that I am paying attention to all the different channels about where you guys are posting questions for me. We're going to have a better setup. I might even get another monitor. I have like my laptop monitor and a couple other things. As we do more of these interactions, know that part of what we really want to hear from you, and I personally want to hear from you about this, is not only just about South by, what are the things that you really want to see in our content as we grow? If you want to send me an email, I'm easy to find, Kevin at techranchaustin.com. You can send me an email and say, hey, Kevin, I'd really like to see the following thing. For me, it's hard to meet one-on-one unless you're in one of our core programs or something like that, because a lot of times I'm, hosting, I'll be hosting a lot of times during South by. I won't be able to be meeting individuals one-on-one, but I'll be hosting like the Secretary of Economy. But I really care. And the way that I can actually take advantage of our relationship is you tell me what you would like to see with just a short email that says, I want this, 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 this. And as we get back up onto the weekly rate that we used to have with our podcast, I'll make sure that we speak to those issues because we want these programs to be salient. We will have a number of other things coming soon. You'll look on the website, techranch.com/events, and you'll see you can subscribe to that and have it just propagate into your calendar. And one of the great things about that is then you'll know more about what are the webinars that are coming and other events that are coming. All right, well, I tell you what, for today, I am going to start wrapping up if I can figure out where Zoom put the button. I can't stand that they keep on moving it around. Okay, so key takeaways, just make sure you take care of yourself. Prepare now. Leverage our community for some of these activities. There's nothing better than actually getting you might think I'm an expert, but the expertise that I have to tell you is get a small group of people around you. And even if you don't have a formal relationship and all you do is you set up a temporary WhatsApp group, that can be extremely powerful, especially if it's with people that you've never met before, because you'll get to see that cross-sectional insight. And the other thing that I learned first at Burning Man, but I now use for my South by Southwest, and I promise it's been more powerful than any planned thing, is allow things to just happen. Allow your intuition to pull you into a couple different directions. Don't get caught up in the whole FOMO of things. So with that, I'll take this to a close today. I appreciate your time today. Make sure you sign up for the community. It's free. And, or at least for now, free. Community membership on the free level will be if you get in now, you always have access to it. We will have other programs that we're going to continue to layer on top of that, but take advantage of what we have to offer and let us know what you need. Send me an email if you have something specific you'd like to see in coming soon, like webinars in the future. And with that, let's go change the world for the better together. Y'all take good care, and let's be in contact. I look forward to have a great South by Southwest program. I look forward to running into you out there, and we'll see you soon. Take care.